Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Armed and Ready podcast. I am your host, Jason Wood, the VA Lone Guy. Today we have Marine veteran Daniel Lane with us. We've got some really cool stuff to talk to you about, so come check it out. Daniel, thanks so much for being on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Dude, thank you for having me.
Good to have you. So, we're in the San Diego area, so lots of Marine vets around here.
Oh, yeah.
Lots and lots, and we were just kind of chatting before we started recording here about some funny stuff. But I wanted to kind of introduce our audience to you and just kind of your background, how you got into the Marine Corps, what was the motivation there to raise your right hand and all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about you.
So I grew up in Southeast Texas. I was an adopted pastor's kid. I was adopted when I was about 4. And my parents were pastors of a church in Southeast Texas. So I grew up, in the church. I wanted to be a fivefold minister. And when I was in high school, I was dating this girl that my parents didn't like, which is the worst thing I ever did as a pastor's kid. Was I wouldn't break up with this girl. They thought she was crazy. They wanted me to break up with her, and I wouldn't do it. So we kept going back and forth, and of course, Revenge of the Sith was out at the time, so Forbidden Love was like the whole thing. So,
yeah,
I had the Anakin Padme thing going on with my girlfriend. We weren't telling my parents about it, and they found out. And so shortly before graduation, my dad, came and sat down with me because I was supposed to be going to this Bible Institute down in Columbus. And he goes, listen, he goes, you're coming up on graduation soon. He goes, and I don't feel comfortable sending you down to this Bible Institute with the whole church, supporting you while you're down there, and you're living in open rebellion to us. So he said, you've got a choice. He goes, you can either stop living in rebellion and listen to me, or you're going to be 18 soon. You need to have a job. Well, I'd already been talking to a Marine recruiter for a little bit because after I went to the Bible Institute, I was thinking about maybe joining the Marine Corps.
Okay.
But I wanted to have a little bit of time after high school before doing that. So when he said that, I was just like, all right, well, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. And my dad looked at me in the face and he said, he goes, you'll never hear me say this in front of your mother and sisters. He goes, but I respect the hell out of what you're doing. He goes, that's the last you're going to hear from me out of it. And
wow.
And my mother and both of my sisters were like freaked out. Like they couldn't handle it. Like they're like, you can't even kill a spider. They're like, what, like, why would you do this? And so they tried to talk me out of it. And I wouldn't be talked out of it. They were trying to they gave me a my way or the highway. And I was like, highway. So yeah. I joined the Marine Corps in 2006, like right out of high school.
Nice.
And graduated and then left in June.
Did you do boot camp out here?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that was an interesting experience. I got on the plane. That was my first plane trip. I get to the airport. I walk into the airport, and when you get to the area where they have you go, I see this, Marine drill instructor. He's got the hat on, just head down, talking to the lady at the desk. And I walk in, and I'm a little pastor's kid from a small town in Southeast Texas. I smile and greet everyone that I meet. So I go up there, and I'm like just in there, and I'm just kind of looking around, not knowing what I'm supposed to do. And this drill instructor looks over me and goes, "The fuck are you looking at?" Like right off the bat, "Get over there and sit down and like put your head down." So I go over there, I sit down with the other guys. They're all sitting cross-legged, and they have their chins up against their chest. So I go to sit down, I put my chin up against my chest, and they told us to stay there. And they had to stay there for like a long time. No idea how long. But I was convinced that they were going to make my neck break from like having my chin touch my chest, because you don't think that's a bad thing, to do until you've been sitting here for like, 45 minutes and your neck feels like it's going to fall off.
Right.
And so, man, the discipline aspect of like the Marine Corps was not the culture shock for me. It was like the way that they talk to you, like the way that Marine Corps drill instructors use like swearing to just break you down is unlike anything that anyone's ever experienced.
It's an art form, right?
It is dude. It is a pure art form. They are like Rembrandt with insults and swear words. It's incredible.
Well, those drill instructor hats, they have like this intimidation factor, right?
They
like
do.
I remember my drill instructor, and just looking at him when he didn't have the hat on, he looked kind of like a normal guy. But when he was wearing that hat, it was like, whoa.
Yeah, you didn't want to mess with him.
Yeah.
No. And my drill instructors, the 3 that I had, one of them, his name was Sergeant Diascanis. He told us not to say his name because he didn't think any of us could pronounce it. But this guy was like 6'2" or so. Looked like he had braces, which added to the amount of spit that he threw at you. Like if he was chewing you out, you were gonna be soaked after you were done. Like that was just the way it was. And he was our J-Hat drill instructor, and he looked like an evil version of Jim Carrey. Like he looked kind of like Jim Carrey mixed with John Cena, like just tall, skinny, angry, braces, just mean, dude. And I never forget one morning we were standing online, and somebody like coughed or something, like somebody like coughed or moved offline or something like that. And I watched this dude practically teleport from the front of the squad bay all the way to the back, and then he flying dragon kicks this kid over his footlocker, like just jumps and like kicks him like Bruce Lee.
Wow.
And like knocks him over his footlocker. Of course, we're all dying laughing because it didn't happen to us. We're all sitting there going, everybody's beatboxing.
Right.
And he, of course, he turns around. He's like, anybody else want some of this? And we're like,
Oh, that's funny. I remember just that airplane ride to basic training. Like that was like having like, I forget I was flying from Nevada down to San Antonio. I don't remember how many hours it was, but it was like, man, like all the things racing through your head. Like, what am I getting into? What's going to happen? And then I'm coming from like Nevada, no humidity, just dry. And I get off the airplane in San Antonio in the summer and it's like 90% humidity, hot as hell. And I'm like, okay, so the one thing I know about basic training is gonna be a lot of physical activity. I'm probably going to die because I can't even breathe right now. So I thought, this is it, man. See you, mom and dad.
So it's the exact opposite for me. I grew up in Texas. So, in Texas, it'll be like 100 degrees outside with like, 110% humidity. So you walk outside and you instantly feel drenched. And then I get to San Diego and it'll be like a Black Flag PT day, like it's 90 some odd degrees and they're like Black Flag PT day. And I'm outside and I'm like, but it doesn't even feel...
It's not even hot.
It's not even hot. Like, what's wrong with you people?
Yeah.
So like the heat, in California wasn't the problem for me. I got along fine with that because I was so used to that Texas humidity.
Yeah, you go in the South or Texas or something, and those Black Flag days, they're real Black Flag days.
They're real.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll die.
They're crazy.
You'll for real die.
They're crazy. So what'd you do in the Marine Corps? What was your job, or tell us that?
So I was an 0331. I was a machine gunner.
Okay.
So I got through boot camp. I was open contract in boot camp, so I was 03XX open contract.
Gotcha.
And then whenever I got to SOI, I wanted to be a rifleman because I didn't want to be stuck on a truck or like do anything like that. I wanted to be, like in the mix with like all the guys going in houses, going on patrols, stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm not an exceptionally big guy either. So like, I didn't really want to be a machine gunner. But they've voluntold me. They were like, you're going to be a machine gunner.
Right.
And I was like, but I don't want to be a machine gunner. And they're like, well, what you want doesn't really matter, does it? And I was
it doesn't fit the Marine Corps need.
You're right. I signed the contract. So got moved over to machine gunner side. And then the next day we went on a 5K hike. And I was like, cool, 5K hike. That's not too bad. I've done that. Then they put a 240 Bravo or 240 Golf at the time on my back. And that's like 27 pounds on top of the pack you're already wearing. And I was like, this sucks. Like, we got to carry this?
The whole way?
Like, for some reason, the weight of everything that we carried did not, like, register on my mind as something that was going to be a sucky part of this. And then by the end of the hike, I had a 240 Golf. I had a 50 cal barrel. I had a tripod. Like, a bunch of people, like, fell out. And then, it's like, you're always supposed to, like, yell, like, 331 relief. And then there wasn't that many people to relieve because everybody needed relief about halfway through the hike. So I'm like carrying like 3 things. I'm like, dude, this sucks. This sucks.
That's a lot of weight too.
But yeah, I was a machine gunner from that point on. When I graduated SOI, they sent me to 1st MSOB, which was really weird. That was Marine Special Operations Battalion, which back in 2006, it was brand new. That was right after they restructured 1st Force Recon as 1st MSOB. Okay. So MARSOC was a new thing. They were trying to get the Marine Corps into the JSOC community.
Okay.
Because, it's like the Navy has the SEALs, the Army has, like Delta Force. Everybody has their high-tier assets. But the Marine Corps had Force Recon, and they wanted it to be structured as a Tier 2 asset. The reason they sent a bunch of boots to MARSOC right out of SOI is because they wanted infantry marines for trailer platoons, but they didn't want fleet infantry marines because fleet infantry marines had really bad habits that they wanted to get ahead of.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they sent us there. It was some weird experiment, and I'll never forget the day we get there. One of the guys who kind of was like an unofficial mentor to me, his name was Sergeant Van Meter. He comes up to us and he goes, my name's Dane. He goes, you guys can call me Sergeant Van Meter. He goes, I just want you guys to know, you're all in way over your head. And we're all sitting there like, yeah, we know that. And he goes, none of you guys should be here. He goes, none of you are experienced. None of you have seen combat. Like, he goes, but you're here. He goes, so while you're here, we're going to take you under our wing and teach you everything we can. So just, you better learn everything you can because you're in a big boy environment now. He goes, if you guys perform and you act like a big boy, he goes, you get treated that way. He goes, if you don't, you'll get treated like a kid, and that'll be the way it is. And
fair.
Yeah. So we all did our best there, and I think we really exceeded expectations for what the unit kind of thought they were going to get out of us. We were also the problem children. Like we were the mischievous ones. If there was something mischievous that happened, we were behind it. Like that was just the way it was. One night we were all getting ready to go on Christmas leave, and I feel bad even telling the story. So one night we were getting ready to go on Christmas leave, and my buddy AJ, he was in the room next to us. You know how the barracks rooms are connected by a bathroom.
Yep.
So it was my room with my buddy Rodriguez, and then AJ and Labs in the other room. Well, AJ's chilling in his room and remembers that he has these like 2-3 liter bottles of soda in his freezer. They're frozen, like they're frozen solid.
Oops.
And so he pulls them out, and he's like, we're standing on the third deck of the barracks, and he goes, oh, dude. He goes, let's throw them off the third deck of the barracks and like watch them explode on the ground. It'd be fun. Right. We're like, yeah. What else are we gonna do at this this time of the night? It was really late, and so he yeets this fucking bottle off the top of the third deck. And you know how when somebody throws something and your eyes are just drawn to what it's gonna hit and it's not good? You've ever had that moment, right? Like the second it leaves their hand, you're like you
can see the trajectory.
No. So it leaves his hand, and all of our eyes are just drawn down to the parking lot to this black, at the time, brand spanking new BMW.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. And so we're sitting there, we're like, no, and it just hits the windshield, just craters the windshield, and somehow thawed enough mid-flight that it just sprayed slushy like soda all over the inside of this guy's like brand new interior.
Oh my God, I'd be so mad.
And so we did what any respectable like PFCs and Lance Corporals would do. We scattered. We were like cockroaches when the lights came off. We're like, everybody went back to the room. We all pretended to be asleep. And so I'm laying in my bed. And we can hear down on the ground, this guy comes out and he goes, oh man, my fucking car! Not half a second later, we hear his boots stomping up the stairs to our deck where we're all at. And he's coming down the line, just knocking on our doors. He's like, get out of here. I know it's you Charlie Company sons of bitches. Get out of here. So we all get out there, we're all rubbing our eyes. We're just like, what's going on? What happened? And he goes, bullshit. I know it was you. He goes, what do you guys threw this bottle of soda through my fucking car? My buddy AJ's sitting there, and he's like 4 shades paler white than he usually is. And he's not saying anything, and nobody else is saying anything. Nobody knows what to do. And so I just look and I go, oh man, dude, there's no way that any of us could have thrown a 3-liter bottle of soda to your car like that far. Like that just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And he goes, and he kind of looks at me like, what are you talking about? And then one of the other guys goes, yeah, and I heard a car peel out of here just a little bit ago. And I'm like, you need to shut the fuck up, because we just said we were pretending to be asleep. You were asleep. All right, keep your story straight. So by the end of it, like I take him down, I'm like looking at it, and I'm like standing over his vehicle. I'm like, look at the trajectory of this, man. Like it wouldn't have come from over there. Like somebody had to stand over your vehicle and like smash it down. Like that's the only way that this happened. So by the end of it, I had this guy convinced that some dude from another unit came and vandalized this guy's car. And my buddy AJ got off free and clear. And like to this day, like I think that's one of the most like dirty lies I've ever told.
Oh, that sucks.
But it's like they teach you to like look out for your own, right? So like, dude, he was in my company. I wasn't gonna let him go down like that. So.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh man, he must have been so mad.
Oh, dude, he was red with anger, and he was so sure it was us. Like he knew it was us. And then I told him it wasn't, and he believed me.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. So did you guys go on any deployments or anything?
I didn't deploy with MARSOC. I did my first 2 years with MARSOC. We were doing a lot of training. I still did a lot of specialized training, but that's why I don't tell people I was MARSOC, because if you don't go on a deployment with them, you're not part of them. Like they don't accept you as part of the community. Like you're not part of the SOC community if you haven't gone on deployment with the team.
Gotcha.
So we did a lot of training. We were doing a lot of specialized. Like we had a company called Tiger Swan come out and teach us advanced, like, you know, shooting tactics, and we did like cross line fire. We got to do all kinds of stuff. I mean, we got thousands and thousands of rounds each week to like throw down range. So we were always having a good time shooting and just doing cool stuff. So but we went down to Coronado in 2007 for the Amphibious raid course. So we were all doing different things. Some people were doing Scout Swimmer. Some people were doing over the horizon, you know, navigation, so you can navigate by the stars, you know, where you don't have, you know, any landmarks. Yeah. I was doing the coxswain course, which is the driving the little rubber boats.
Oh, okay.
You know, so we were doing that, and that was, oh man, that was such a good time. You know, we were out in the water every day. You know, we got to go, you know, ride alongside the sea lions and stuff like that. Our platoon sergeant at this time, his name was Staff Sergeant Bejarano. Staff Sergeant Bejarano fucking hated us. Now, the reason Staff Sergeant Bejarano hated us is because he was an SOI instructor. And he was really excited to get sent to MARSOC because he was ready to get away from SOI students. When he shows up to first MSOC,
he inherits a bunch of SOI students.
He inherits a bunch of SOI students. Dude, he hated us. He hated us with like a level of like unreasonable passion that like we didn't deserve, you know? Like we didn't deserve the hatred that he gave to us. But like when you're at the school, they're supposed to leave you alone. Like they're supposed to not play like stupid games. We played stupid games with us all the time. So when we were doing beach, you know, we were doing surf breaking, you know, beach launch and beach recovery. They teach you how to contour the waves. So when you're driving the boat, you're supposed to gun the throttle as you go up over the wave, and then as you reach the crest of the wave, you're supposed to let off the throttle, and then you gently sail over it and to the other side. And it's a nice smooth ride. So the day we were doing it for like, you know, for like show, Staff Sergeant Bejarano decides he wants to get in our boat, and he wants to ride number 1 man assault. Now, number 1 man assault is at the very front of the boat, hugging the tube, right?
Right.
Under his face is this giant fucking D-ring that just sucks to have your face bounced off of. None of us said a word to each other. This is how good of a team we were. None of us said a word to each other. We all just looked at each other, and everyone had the same idea. The second we got on the stick, because we all had a turn going out, you know, through the surf and then coming back. Dude, just and we're just sitting here just going boom, boom, boom. We're looking up at the front, and Staff Sergeant Bejarano's face is just going. Everyone in the boat, all 8 of us, drove the boat and did the same thing to him. We get done, and he's like, "You guys suck." His face is all red. I think we chipped a tooth. Like he's yeah. No, we gave him a bloody lip. Like, and that's what happens. Like if you're a higher up and you mess with your guys in an unsat way, they will get you back somehow.
Somehow, yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming back.
Yep. So, you know, while we were down there, basically there were some things that went down with one of the companies with second MSOB while they were in Afghanistan, where a bunch of civilians died. And it was basically the security platoon's fault. There was a big investigation that went into it. It was this whole fiasco. And they decided they were going to scrap the security platoons. Okay. So while we're at the Amphibious raid course, our battalion commander comes out to us. I mean, we've been killing it. We've been doing good this whole time. And he comes out to us and he tells us the news that they're doing away with security platoons. And he goes, my hands are tied here. He goes, but you guys deserve better than this. You're supposed to be grandfathered in But if you guys want to go through A&S, which is assessment and selection, you can. He goes, you have the option to do that. He goes, or you can just, opt out and we'll send you out to an infantry unit.
Right.
So about 30 of us decided to go to A&S.
Okay.
And this was the second A&S that had ever happened. So when we get there, there was still like Delta Force guys there. And there was the Marine instructors, like the Marine cadre that were kind of like running everything. But you could tell the Delta Force guys were like behind the scenes. Like they were the ones running everything.
Gotcha.
And like, I don't know if you've met any Delta Force guys before.
Yeah.
But they're totally like the most regular dudes that you would. My favorite looked like Billy Bob Thornton, like a skinnier version of Billy Bob Thornton. And he was just this regular dude, older guy, totally unassuming. You would not think that this guy was Delta Force if you were just walking down the street and looked at him.
Right.
And at the time, I was all about it, dude. I wanted to go career, special forces community. I wanted to be an operator. I wanted to eventually get out and do the CIA thing. So that was like something I was really big into. So while we were at A&S, I got a chance during one of the NAV courses to actually sit down with this Delta Force guy and like ask him a couple questions. So I went up to him and I was like, I know you probably can't tell me anything. He goes, but I go, how does the Delta Force NDOC, like assessment and selection program, stack up to this one? And he goes, take everything you do here. He goes, and multiply it by 2. He goes, and that's the Delta Force NDOC. And I was like, ah. And that was where I was like, I will not be going Delta Force. Dude, MARSOC assessment selection was crazy, man. Like, it was so intense. The first night you get there, and I don't even know how much of this stuff I can talk about. The first night you get there, you do this like crazy, like unknown distance thing. By the end of it, I had blood like in my boots. Like I had a pool of blood in my boots by the time I got to the end of this thing.
Wow.
And I mean they've changed it since then anyway. Like it's gone through multiple revisions.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I went through, I mean, dude, it was insane. I had one of the Alice packs, the metal frame packs. I had one of those snap under the weight of a log. Ooh. And like the metal strut like jammed into my back. And of course you can't stop. Like if you stop, you quit. Like that, like stopping is quitting. You can't stop. So the log snapped my pack, and then it's just like, well, keep going. So like now I have to go to a chiropractor every so often because sometimes this rib will pop out of place from where that pack snapped on me. Oh, and then next thing you know, I can't breathe real well. Getting up out of bed hurts. Going back to bed hurts. Thankfully, the chiropractic works. Yeah. But like, man, dude, some of the stuff I did when I was at MARSOC was like insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like that whole injury thing. I had a buddy who was like out of high school. He went in the Army and going Green Beret route, and he was the radio guy. And so they were on like a long pack hike in the mountains, and he just like stepped on a rock and it kind of rolled wrong and like jacked up his ankle, right? And he was like, "I got to power through." And they were only like a third of the way through the hike, so I mean they had a long ways to go, a couple of days left hiking, and he's like, "I just got to power through it." And long story short, it ended up he was like, "I can't quit because they'll wash me out. I'll be done, right?"
Yeah.
And so he made it to like the final day and like. He just couldn't take the pain anymore. So they let him have another shot at it, but his ankle was already so destroyed, It wasn't going to hold up. But it's crazy how like intense that is, like, yeah, you're hurt. You just keep quiet and go.
They want you to keep going. And, it's interesting because it's one of those things like where when you're in your like, when you're 18, 19, 20 something, you think you're invincible. You think you're immortal. You think that you're going to recover from everything. And so they push you, to do all this stuff. And it's like, you don't even think about the damage you're doing to your body long term in the time. It's not until like after you get out and start like, dealing with all the like physical, consequences of your own actions.
Right.
That they start to realize, like, maybe I shouldn't just tough through everything,
Right.
But they have that culture. I mean, even with infantry, like if you go to BAH, you're malingering or whatever. Like it doesn't even matter if it's for something legitimate.
Right.
They're gonna try and make you feel bad about it for a while.
Of course they are. Yeah.
So
after the Marine Corps, now why'd you get out of the Marine Corps then?
So after I did 2 years with MARSOC. After I got through assessment and selection, out of 60 people that went through, only 12 people got selected.
Okay.
Out of 30 of my peers that went through, 30 people like me that were boots that went through, only 2 of us got selected.
Oh dang.
So I get back to first MSOB. I'm on cloud 9 because I just got through military selection. And you go up on a board. I'll tell you this story. So you go up on a board whenever you go through selection, and it's like when I went through, it was like 6 full bird colonels, and 6 sergeant majors, and this was my first military board to go on.
Dang.
Mind you, we've been in assessment and selection for like 2 weeks now or so.
Okay.
So we're going through, and when I walked in, there was this staff sergeant that was on one of the instructors. His name was Staff Sergeant Twofford. We called him Staff Sergeant Twat. Waffle. But he had this like douchey mustache. You know the one I'm talking about,
Yep,
right?
I know what you're talking about.
So we all grew mustaches to make fun of this guy. Every one of us, all of us going through selection, grew mustaches to make fun of this guy. So when it came time to go for the board, most everybody caught wind that we were going through the board, went and shaved their mustaches, right?
Uh-huh.
Put on their best camis. I ripped my camis from like knee to shin during the course of selection. So when I walk into this board, my camis are ripped from here to here.
Oh no.
And I've got this, like mustache, like not regulation mustache, just growing, like big old caterpillar on my lip. And so I walk in there, little Lance Corporal Lane walks in there, and these guys are looking at me. And so they start off with the regular questions, like hello, how are you, all that stuff, the formalities. And then first off, one of the sergeant majors, my sergeant major, as he goes, "What's with the mustache?" And so I told him, I was like, it was a community building. I was like, it was a unit building. Yeah, I was like, it was a unit building exercise. I was like, we all grew them.
That's a good way to spin
together.
it.
Yeah, I was like, we all grew them together. I was like, it's something we did to build camaraderie and stuff like that. I go, everybody else got the memo and shaved theirs. I was like, I didn't. So you get the mustache. And they're like, okay, all right. So they go through the rest of the questions and stuff like that, and then they send me out. And I'm sitting out there, and one of the Marine instructors, his name is Sergeant Penray, he comes out and he goes, taking a really long time on you. And I go, yeah? He goes, yeah. He goes, much longer than they've taken on anybody else. He goes, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I just thought you should know. And then he walks back in.
Oh, great.
So they call me back in, and I go back in, and they're like, well, you're really young. They're like, you don't have the experience that we're looking for. They're like, but we think you would be a good fit. So, you're selected. And so I get back from
super pumped, right?
Actually, oh, dude, I was super pumped. I was supposed to be getting seats to BRC, the basic reconnaissance course whenever I got back. And so I went home on Christmas leave. I get back and I'm like, hey, what's going on with my seats? Find out this master gunnery sergeant, Gruber, which I'll throw him under the bus. I hate you still. Yeah, no, fuck that guy. No, he didn't like me. He had a real chip on his shoulder about people being there that weren't first force, or hadn't done their time and stuff like that. So he just really didn't like me. So he got me orders out to this unit called MSOAG, which was Marine Special Operations Advisory Group. And this was on the East Coast, and I'd had a couple buddies get sent there, and they got sent out like the next day. They got sent out to infantry units the next day. So I knew it was a dead-end unit. And it doesn't even exist anymore. They dissolved it shortly after I left.
Oh, wow.
So I got orders out there, and I tried to fight it every way I could, without requesting mass and like doing that. Probably should have requested mass.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the decision was made. So I went out to North Carolina, did training out there. The advisory group was all about learning how to train foreign, forces on how to do guerrilla operations.
Okay.
So I went through this field op called Light Infantry Training.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they call it that, because there wasn't nothing light about it, dude. It was heavy as shit. So we went through that. It was a bunch of sleep deprivation. It was a bunch of it was a suck fest. And so we were running these training missions, so everybody would take a turn, running the mission. So you would be the mission, planner, you'd be in charge.
Okay.
So you'd plan the mission, you'd run the mission, and then somebody else would take charge. So when it came up my turn, did my mission, got done, cool. Well, I didn't drink a lot of water while I was doing it because I was like, I was getting stuff done, and then I didn't drink water after that. They put me on this. They put me on this detachment to go search down a cache that they had buried somewhere. So me and this group of guys goes out on this, for this cache recovery, and we go out, and whoever was our nav guy gets us lost.
Oh no!
Shit, so we're just roaming out in the woods in North Carolina, just looking for this cache that doesn't exist, and we've spent all this time on it. And the same instructor that was the one who came out to tell me that they were taking a long time was at this unit, and one of our instructors there. He didn't like me very much either.
Oh, jeez.
So he comes over and finds us. He has to run us down because we're supposed to be back with the main group at this point.
Right.
And so we go, and he runs us back. He's like yelling at us that we didn't find stuff. We fucked up, and like he's running us back. As we're running back, I step on this sharp stick, and it just lodges in my foot and breaks off.
Oh crap!
Again, as special forces, you don't stop, right? So I just keep running until we get back to the main group. The second we get back to the main group, I'm like, trying to pull the stick out of my foot, right? So we do this final kind of like mission, like it was this final like assault kind of thing, and then the 7 tons were supposed to come pick us up. But after we got done with the final mission, everybody started acting stupid. Everybody started firing their blanks in the air, hooting and hollering, just all this just dumb like childish stuff. And so then they made us run back. And when they made us run back, they sent us they had us running back, and that was when I just went down like a heat casualty. Hadn't had enough water, hadn't eaten any food, ran on that cache, and then just that was the first time I ever went down. It was the first time I ever fell out of a run. And so after that, they sent me away from that unit, and they sent me to 1-7 over in 29 Palms. So I got 86 from the unit for going down once, and got sent to 1-7, and that was where I did my last 2 years with, and that was where I deployed to Iraq.
Dang.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot going on. So you got out and kind of fast forward, and I know you made a reference earlier, like a Star Wars reference, but you're a big Star Wars fan.
Oh yeah, huge Star Wars fan.
And I know kind of a weird twist, right, from Marine Corps to Star Wars, but huge Star Wars fan, and you're doing some stuff with that now. Star Wars, honestly, is one of my whole favorite series. Anytime it's even on like some random cable channel, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put that on.
Yeah. Like if you're scrolling the channels and it's on Spike, you're like,
okay.
I guess this is what
Return of the Jedi? Sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you're doing all sorts of stuff like martial arts and sabers and all these things. So tell us a little bit like how you got kind of engulfed into the whole Star Wars thing.
So I told you I was an adopted kid. So I grew up with like all these anger problems because my home life before I was adopted wasn't very good or safe. So I grew up with all these like anger issues, and my parents were pastors of a church, so I really wanted to be a good Christian. I wanted to be a 5-fold minister growing up. And for me, Star Wars was one of those things that just like everything just clicked. Like the concept of the Force with the concept of like an infinite God kind of thing. The story of the Jedi, the story of Luke, basically, being raised by his aunt and uncle on Tatooine, finding out that his father was the Dark Lord of the Sith, overcoming his own anger. The story just it just inspired me in a way that like I can't even quantify. Like I feel more at home in the Star Wars universe than I do here.
A lot of relatability, huh?
A lot of relatability for me. And so, I was just and of course the first time you see a lightsaber on screen and you see it ignite, it's like that was like the ultimate weapon to me. Like that, like to me that was what I wanted right there.
Yeah.
And so I was hooked the second I saw my first lightsaber. I was big into martial arts. When I was in 8th grade, I started doing a traditional style of Okinawan martial arts called Shorin Ryu. Got my Shodan before I went to boot camp. When I was in SOI, I bought my first Master Replicas lightsaber. I bought a Luke Skywalker Master Replicas lightsaber. And these are not for fighting. They're like $120, like collectible props. They light up, they have sound. Bought it, fought with it, broke it, bought another one. Like this was like a regular thing in my Marine Corps experience, was buying these things, fighting with them. When I was at right before we went to the coxswain course, we broke into the whiskey locker in the barracks, and there was it was full of glow sticks. It's full of glow sticks, or chem lights as we call them.
Yeah.
So just boxes and boxes of chem lights. So the night before we left, we broke open every box of chem lights, cracked open all of them, and then had a huge chem light war.
Oh my gosh.
So we're all just out in the barracks just throwing chem lights at each other. And so I go and grab I go and grab my buddy's Darth Vader lightsaber, and then I just go down to the bottom of the third deck. There's 3 stories of people throwing glow sticks, and I just ignite the lightsaber. Well, everybody sees me ignite the lightsaber, turns, and then just immediately starts trying to peg the guy with the lightsaber, right? Peg the guy with the biggest glow stick. So they start trying to peg me. I'm deflecting glow sticks down on the third deck, and or down on the first deck, and then I start moving up the deck, and I'm like actually blocking stuff.
Yeah.
And I get up to the third deck, and I'm like moving through, and stuff like that. And then somebody threw an infrared glow stick, and my force powers were not with me. I didn't see that when it beat me right in the forehead.
Oh crap!
I know somebody was looking at me, just like, let me see, dodge this motherfucker, and just threw it at me. So,
Right.
So Star Wars has been a big part of my life for a long time, even through my time in the Marine Corps. Like when I was in Iraq, I carried a lightsaber up in the turret with me. Just had it hanging up there, and that was like my personal dedication to or symbol of my dedication to being a light everywhere I go.
Well, that's cool.
So like for me, I wanted to serve our country in a way that aligned with like my values as well. So like my lightsaber, like I carry one everywhere I go, and that's like my constant reminder that I'm a warrior who brings light and life, not death and destruction.
That's really cool.
And after I got out, for me, it's like I had this really big feeling that like the only thing my hands were suited for was destruction. So learning how to build lightsabers gave me a skill and a craft where now I feel like I can create things, and I don't just feel like destroying is the only thing that I'm good at.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you actually build like movie quality like lightsabers now, right?
Yes, yeah. So and not only movie quality, but I do competitive lightsaber dueling as well. So these are also martial arts training tools. The blades are made out of a thick polycarbonate, which is the same material that goes in the construction of bulletproof glass.
Okay.
So you can actually hit these together and they won't break.
Oh, they're strong then.
They are strong. So yeah, you can see it. And the hilts are ordinarily made out of aircraft aluminum.
Wow, that thing's solid.
It is, yeah. And there's a few different companies out there who make really quality sabers, and they have great electronics and stuff like that. And I've interacted with most of them, and I've broken most of them. Is the thing. So for me, after I got out, I was still playing with lightsabers and stuff like that, but I kept breaking them, and it was just too expensive to like have to keep having the company maintain them or buy a new one. Right. So I started learning how to make them. I started learning how to repair the ones that I had. And then from there, I ended up getting a job working at this company called Saber Forge. And that was a crazy experience. Because the owner was basically working out of a garage whenever I started working with him up in the Bay Area.
Gotcha.
And then we moved up to Oregon, and I helped him take his company from 2 people in a garage to 6 shops in Oregon City with 70+ employees. I was part of a Kickstarter campaign that gained over like $2.1 million.
Wow.
I was on the news up in Oregon like multiple times. Once we got the shops, I really started running his company because he stopped showing up.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. No, I would call him and be like, "Hey, there's this thing that I feel like needs an owner's decision," and to be like, "Figure it the fuck out." So I would, and so I was running the machine shop. I'd be putting out fires in other departments all day, and still had to maintain a daily quota of hilts gotten out as well, the same as everybody else.
Oh jeez.
So yeah,
a lot of responsibility.
It was a lot, dude. It was a lot, and over the time that I was there, things just kept getting kind of crazier and crazier. The guy's just kind of abusive, and not even kind of abusive. The guy's really abusive. So after I worked there for 4 years, and then and he fired me. I came back down to California to be with family, and now I'm just working on getting my own business started up.
That's cool. So, you were saying there's a competitive thing with the lightsaber stuff. So, tell us what's that all about? So,
the organization that I duel with primarily is called TSL. It's the Saber Legion.
Okay.
And so it is an international dueling organization. It's about 3,000 members strong. And yeah, we get together and we do full contact lightsaber dueling. We wear fencing helmets and gear. Most people theme their gear based
Like,
off based off of some.
So it's
type
like fencing in a way, right? Sword fighting, kind of.
I call lightsaber combat the mixed martial arts of sword fighting, because when you look at the blade, it's it's round, right? There's no cutting or blocking edge to a lightsaber. It's all a cutting or blocking edge. So what we call that is an omnidirectional blocking and striking surface. So what's cool about this is this works as an allegory for any sword combat you bring. So we get people from HEMA, we get people from fencing, we get people from Filipino martial arts, we get people that just come in off the street, watch 5 animes and want to come tangle. And it's really cool because it all translates. All the techniques, translate into the lightsaber. So you get a really cool mix of styles and approaches to, fighting.
Yeah. And so I imagine people make their own, they buy them from different places. So
there's kind of a small crossover of people who make and people who duel.
Okay.
Most people either make or they duel, and then there's like there's probably about 20 or 30 or so people in the community that actually make stuff and then go out and fight with it.
Gotcha. Okay, that's really cool. So do you do stuff for movies and things like that, or does Hollywood have their own whole separate gig?
So when I worked at Saberforge, this was kind of interesting. When I worked at Saberforge, Pinewood Studios reached out to us when The Force Awakens was underway.
Okay.
And they actually bought like 3 or 4 lightsabers from us.
Oh,
and
cool.
So I got to be a part of making the lightsabers for Pinewood Studios, and then they really liked our hilts that we sent them. But then the owner decided to post about it on Facebook. He decided to post a screenshot of the letter that the guy from Pinewood Studios sent him, saying how much he loved the product. And the second he posted, I went to him and I was like, dude, that's not that. That ain't it right there. I'm like, think about how tight-lipped Disney is on its own, and then think about how tight-lipped they always are with Star Wars stuff. Like, you're gonna get somebody in trouble. You're gonna lose us a good contract here. And he blew me off. He's like, no, whatever. It's not a big deal. And then the guy who bought the lightsabers called him in tears. He's like, dude, if you don't take that down right now, I'm fired. Like right now. And
wow.
And they never reached out to us again after that. They never wanted anything to do with us.
Yeah.
But they did take some pointers from us in some of the shots for The Force Awakens. They used lit sabers for some of the shots.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because in the original trilogy and the prequel trilogies, they either use an aluminum rod or a carbon fiber rod that they then go in and do the effects on after screen.
Oh, okay.
But if I'm sitting here holding a saber up to my face that isn't lighting up, you're not getting an accurate light reading from the blade on my face. Oh. You're not getting the shadows.
Because if they just do it after in the post-production, it's hard to put the shading.
You don't get the shading that you get from a lit blade. So that was something that they actually took from us, was using lit blades for some of the shots so that they could get the accurate shadows on the actors' faces. For me, I have a Facebook page called Put Daniel on Star Wars because obviously being in a Star Wars movie is something that I really
cool.
That I really want to do.
Yeah.
And I've been very theatrically inclined for my whole life. I did a lot of performance stuff with my church and with my school. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to Miracosta for a little bit for theater. So I really enjoy doing creative projects like that and stuff like that. What's really kind of put me off from it, because one of the characters that I personify in the Star Wars universe is a character named Darth Revan. And he's from a game called Knights of the Old Republic. Okay. And so Knights of the Republic came out when I was in 8th grade. That was the first Star Wars game, or that was the first video game that I stayed up all night playing. Okay. And yeah, I mean, it's an exceptional game. It takes place thousands of years before the events of the Phantom Menace. So it's a real wide open thing, and it covers the ancient history of everything. It talks about this group called the Infinite Empire, which predates the Republic, and basically enslaved the galaxy, and pretty much all the technology in the Star Wars universe, hyperspace, blasters, lightsabers, they come from Infinite Empire technology. So Knights of the Republic was one of those games that was all about questioning the official narrative that governments, religions, and other institutions tell us, so that you can get the full story. It was all about that kind of reading into things, and there was a ton of subtext in the game. and it came at me at just this beautiful time in my life, and really like it inspired me on both my spiritual walk and and my passion for Star Wars as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Return of the Jedi, hands down. Yeah,
That's
Return
good.
of the Jedi is my favorite, followed closely by Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, those two are awesome. Now, are there? I'm sure because I've never read, but I know there's a bunch of the Star Wars books.
Yes.
Right. So I imagine there's plenty more movies that could be.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
Scripted from all that stuff, right?
They're going to keep, I mean, Disney's going to keep pumping out movies at the cyclic rate. So, yeah, a lot of the books are post Return of the Jedi, and they basically retconned all of that. Like in the books, Luke's son's name was Ben, and Han and Leia had 3 children named Jason, Jaina, and Anakin.
Okay.
So you can see where they changed a lot of that in the sequel trilogy. Yeah. So they're gonna go their own way with that, but there's a ton of like Old Republic stuff. Like I would love to see them do Darth Bane. I would love to see them do like a lot of that type of like the Old Republic stuff.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And I don't know how the whole thing goes with like Mandalorian and how that all fits in. Have you watched that series and stuff?
Yes. So Mandalorian is post Return of the Jedi, pre The Force Awakens.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a great series.
It is. It's wonderful. It's one of the best.
Yeah,
for sure.
I really like it. All right, and then you had like another story that you were going to share with us.
After we got back from Iraq, we held the Marine Corps Ball in Vegas.
Okay.
So we're all in Vegas. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing.
It's kind of a bad combo.
It's
right
kind of
there.
a bad
Marines
combo. Marines
Vegas.
in Vegas
Yeah.
is a terrible combo. So one of my buddies is sitting at a bar and he's just drinking. He's trashed. And this guy next to him like spills a drink on him and is just rude about it. So my buddy's steaming and he's just about to go like start a fight with this guy. And then as he's about to get up to go start a fight with this guy, he feels a hand on his shoulder and this really familiar sounding voice going, "Hey, it's not worth it." My buddy turns and sees none other than Dan fucking Aykroyd sitting next to him. Yeah, Dan Aykroyd sitting next to him. And so Dan Aykroyd is just like, "Yeah, you don't want to go start a fight with this guy. Come on, let me buy you a drink." Buys my buddy a drink, sits there, chills with him for a while, and then they just part their separate ways. And he kept my
totally diffused the situation.
Yeah, totally diffused the situation.
Good for him. That's cool.
Dan Aykroyd stopped a fight from going down between one of my Marine buddies and some random dude.
Right on.
He didn't stop my buddy K-Bar from getting kicked out of the Bellagio for getting in a fight though. They got into a fight in the lobby of the Bellagio. Some guy started a fight with his buddy. And then my buddy K-Bar is like 6'3", just put his foot in the guy's like chest and then just stomped him to the ground.
Oh my gosh.
And then they all got kicked out of the Bellagio.
Yeah. Well, that'll happen.
Yep. That's a good way to get kicked out of the Bellagio.
Wow. Well, Daniel, thanks so much for being on the show with us today, man. It's super fun. Great stories. And we sit here and talk about probably Star Wars all afternoon.
It's true.
But I'm a huge fan. I don't know it like you do, but I really appreciate you sharing all this information with us. And if anybody wants to get some deep Star Wars info, this is your man right here. He can lay it down. So, Dan, thanks, buddy.
Dude, thanks
appreciate
for
it,
having
man.
me
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you have any questions about the guests on the show, please reach out to me at valoneguy.us.